I was thinking, what is it about worlds that come with an expiration date? The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is, and probably always will be, the game that I'll refer to as my favorite game of all time. While the gameplay and good graphics have aged, what keeps this game solidly ingrained in my mind is its world. The world of Termina. It's a world that's deeply flawed and that it is inevitably approaching its expiration date from the time that you find it. Many great videos before this one have delved into the lore of Majora's Mask and its portrayal of grief, denial, loss of friendship and death. What I want to focus on here is slightly tangential to these, although still very connected. What I want to focus on is the consequence of knowing that your world is ending and that you're a major piece in the puzzle of that fateful end, and what that means to you as you're counting down while trying to fix the frayed ends of the threads of fate. Do you remember when you were first told that our sun was going to explode in some billion years from now, killing off everything in our solar system? Horrifying. I remember thinking that wasn't enough time to cross everything off my bucket list. At least the bucket list I had at the wise age of 7 to 8 years old. But what if you were given just 3 days? Because what Majora's Mask seems to portray so exceedingly well is the overall inevitability of so many different threads of melancholy culminating with a world that is dying, and the only thing stopping it is you and your 3-day time loop. Most characters in Termina are caught up in trivialities, such as whether or not to continue preparing for the festival, the postman questioning whether to keep to his obsessive schedule, or the return of a mask that was stolen. However, not all problems in Majora's Mask are trivial problems, as some characters, while still somewhat oblivious to the big picture, are beset by their own overshadowing personal tragedies. As if the world and the characters are intertwined in their fate. As if the moon wasn't crashing, the world would still be suffering. There's a strange harmony in trying to save the world, but to do so you must first save the characters within it. The Deku butler having lost his son. The spirit of the Goron hero Damani, who is full of regrets, and the dying Sora Mikao, who failed to help his friend. One of the main themes of Majora's Mask is healing. Healing through acceptance of one's fate. But why is it that these characters must accept the circumstances of their fate, while the hero can still change the fate of the world? Or can he even do that? Even when Link manages to stop the moon from crashing into Clock Town, the central hub of Termina, and ultimately ends up defeating Majora, even that will not stop Link's personal end. Because whether you believe Link to be alive, dead, dreaming or lost in the woods without a fairy, Termina means end. And I know that can be hard to accept. While Link in the beginning of Majora's Mask is already the experienced hero of Hyrule from his earlier heroics during Ocarina of Time, somewhere in the universe, a fledgling space explorer takes their first flight into space. It is no secret that Outer Wilds is inspired by The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. The co-creative lead and creative director of Outer Wilds, Alex Beecham, has said so himself, specifically mentioning that the sense of impending doom comes from the team's love for Majora's Mask. While the world of Outer Wilds doesn't seem as melancholic compared to Majora's Mask, and instead seems almost optimistic and has a sense of zen-like peace about it. Tragedy lies just beneath the surface. You start your journey in Outer Wilds with a healthy dose of adventurous optimism and curiosity. You start exploring the solar system, the weird planets, probably suffocate, get lost, and even crash into the sun a couple of times while you try to get your bearings. Controlling a spaceship can, apparently, be difficult at times. While exploring, you'll most likely read concerning texts from a group of nomadic aliens called Nomai, who seems to be long gone by now. You'll find the other explorers, you'll roast marshmallows, and you'll watch the sun explode. Again and again. You're stuck in a 22-minute cosmic time loop, not unlike that of Link and Termina's lunar predicament. You'll start to realize that everything you've just explored and learned about will soon be gone, and the feeling of existential unfairness will set in, as the day that you get to do what you've always dreamed of, space exploration, is also the day that the solar system expires, and that no matter what you do, you cannot save it. And fate seems completely indifferent to you. This leaves you with an overwhelming feeling of cosmic solitude and existential dread. I know I felt this, and it's kind of curious. One of the first things I had to figure out was if any of the other characters in this world had realized this, or if I was truly, cosmically alone in this experience. You find that you're not, or at least you were not. From following the footsteps of the long-dead Nomai, you learn that they too had to accept their fate due to cataclysmic circumstances. A great explosion of something called ghost matter killed all of them within the solar system, leaving only their technology behind and their failed attempt to find the eye of the universe. And that not only your solar system is expiring, the universe is too. And now you have to pick up the torch where they left it. The hero of Hyrule and the space explorer of planet Timberhearth, albeit coming from vastly different worlds, have one thing in common. The crushing depth of knowing that their world is ending, that most of their world is oblivious to it, and that you have to relive it again and again and again. Ignorance does seem bliss when you're forced to count down to Armageddon. What if you could continue the cycle? What if you could make a bargain with fate? What do you think it would cost? One of my favorite series of games explore this notion across its installments. What would happen if you could continuously extend a world that was meant to expire? I'm of course talking about Dark Souls. Especially focusing on the third game in the series, which to me exists fully in this idea of a world that is stretched too thin and have been alive for too long. To give some context, in the Dark Souls universe, the Age of Fire is a time of light and how the original Lord Gwyn wanted it to be. This Age of Fire is kept going by fueling the First Flame, which originally gave Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight, and the other lords their powers. When the First Flame originally began to fade as part of its natural cycle, it was unnaturally prolonged by Lord Gwyn himself by fueling the flame with his powerful soul. And so, throughout the games, you have been able to prolong the world of the Age of Fire by rekindling the First Flame. thus denying the natural cycle which in the third game has taken a clear toll on the broken world. Even the name of the player character, the Ashen One, suggests that you're born ill-fit to ignite this world anew, compared to the chosen undead and the bearer of the curse before you. You're already born from something long burned. This can be seen no clearer than when comparing the fire ending of both Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3. When you defeat the last boss in each game, and decide to link the first flame in order to prolong the Age of Fire, thereby extending the age of the gods by using your great soul as fuel. The flame in the first game is powerful and willing to burn, still full of life. But doing the same in Dark Souls 3, the flame seems weak, feeble, and almost unwilling. With its clear metaphor to director Hidetaka Miyazaki's own beliefs on creativity, Dark Souls World, with its third installment, had started to falter and needed to be allowed to perish to give space to new worlds. This is also a strong theme in the painted world of Ariandel, DLC of Dark Souls 3. This world is rife with rot and corruption. It's a world eating itself due to stagnation, wishing for complete renewal of the cycle, not just another extension of artificial life support.
And as our wish, make the tales true and burn this world away.
I believe the painted world of Ariandel to be a mirror of Lordran and the world of Dark Souls. For renewal, the painted world needs to be burned, and a new world needs to be painted inspired by the fires of the current, thus creating something new, rather than extending a world that is long past its expiration. This is even made clear by one of the painting's inhabitants.
I can hear the crackling from here, the sound of my home, the painting of Ariandel burning away. When the world rots, we set it afire for the sake of the next world. It's the one thing we do right, unlike those fools on the outside.
I believe this to be a metaphor for needing to let go of Dark Souls before stagnation sets in and corrupts it. Miyazaki needed a blank canvas, but by mixing the ashes and the soul of the games into the paint, the next world, the next game, will inhabit the soul and inspiration of the one before it. And let's just say that I believe From Software succeeded in doing just that. While the question in Dark Souls 3 is both one of stagnation of creativity and of the world needing a complete rebirth in a fantastical sense, it reminds me in the same way of acceptance as Majora's Mask and Outer Wilds. While Link in Majora's Mask saves Termina and heals its inhabitants through acceptance, Link might, like Termina's inhabitants, be more connected to the world than it seems, as it is his own personal end that he will have to accept. Whether he succeeds in this depends on your view of the old hero's spirit that you meet in the Twilight Princess. Is he regretful or just passing on the torch? To me, I think that passing on that torch is part of his acceptance. And though the sun and the universe might be dying, you stand on the shoulders of giants, and you have just enough time to pick up that torch left by the Nomai. You just have to accept that death is inevitable, and that only by doing that, you complete the journey to the eye of the universe, and assist in the creation of a new universe, one that you won't be a part of. And that sometimes you need to pass the torch onto a new cycle, lest it should fall to stagnation. Which brings us back to Dark Souls, for it shows its need for renewal the most clearly, either through corruption or world left in its own ashes. What the world of Dark Souls needs is acceptance, letting the first flame die out and the natural order take its place, passing on the torch to a new age.
My thanks, Ashen One.
So, maybe these worlds have expiration dates for a reason. Death is inevitable, and you might not get to decide when you, your world, or the time of your age comes to an end. So remember to find acceptance in the things you must. And roast some marshmallows before you pass on the torch. And make sure that your stay is an uplifting one. Hey folks, thanks for watching my first video. As this is completely new to me, expect me to try out some different topics and formats along the way while I figure this thing out and find my own voice, I guess. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and if you have any constructive feedback, please leave it down below. Anyways, thanks for joining me, and so long until I find you again.